Picture this. You're at home packing for your next flight. Medications are set aside, a jacket folded neatly, maybe a snack or two, all tucked into that carry-on you've trusted for years. You've done this plenty of times and you know the basics. No oversized liquids, no sharp objects, nothing unusual. You feel like a pro. But here's the catch. 2025 has changed the rules, and that same bag you've always trusted might not even make it past security this year. Perfectly normal items, things you've always flown with, are suddenly being flagged, banned, or even confiscated. Unless you know what's changed, your smooth trip could quickly turn into a stressful and expensive mess before you even reach your gate. Now let me pause here and ask, type 1 in the comments if you've ever had to toss something at airport security, and type 0 if you've never lost a thing. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to Travel Made Simple for seniors. Each week, I share tips and secrets to make flying after 60 simpler, safer, and less stressful. So let's dive in with the item that's causing the biggest problems this year: power banks. Almost everyone carries one now. They keep our phones alive for boarding passes, checking in with family, or just getting through long layovers. But not all power banks are allowed on planes, and this year, the rules are even tighter. In January 2025, an Air Busan flight in South Korea had to be evacuated when smoke filled the cabin. The culprit? A passenger's power bank that caught fire. The shocking part is that this battery was technically legal under the rules, but it still overheated. Now imagine being on that flight, trying to scramble down an emergency slide at 70 years old. That's why airlines are cracking down harder than ever. Here's what matters. Oversized batteries, anything over 160 watt-hours or about 32,000 milliamp hours, are completely banned. Smaller ones, under 100 watt-hours or roughly 20,000 milliamp hours, are allowed in your carry-on. Between 100 and 160 watt-hours, you can usually bring two, but only if the airline approves it in advance. And here's the part most travelers miss. Power banks are never allowed in checked luggage. If one catches fire in the cargo hold, there's no one there to put it out. The key takeaway is this: keep your power banks small, clearly labeled, and always in your carry-on. Don't assume that because you've flown with the same charger before, it will still be fine today. I recently heard from a senior traveler who had their power bank confiscated simply because the label had rubbed off and security couldn't verify its size. That's how strict things are getting, and the battery isn't the only issue. Let's talk about the bag itself. Smart luggage seemed like the future a few years ago. Suitcases with built-in batteries, USB charging ports, even GPS trackers. But in 2025, if the battery can't be removed, many airlines simply won't allow it on board. I've seen seniors show up with these high-tech bags only to be told they had two choices: pay for an overpriced replacement suitcase at the airport or abandon the bag altogether. Imagine spending hundreds of dollars on smart luggage only to be stopped cold at check-in. Unless you want that headache, make sure the battery can be removed. Let's pause for another quick check-in. Type 1 in the comments if you've ever had to pay an unexpected baggage fee, and 0 if you've managed to dodge them so far. I'll bet most of us are in the 1 camp because airlines are finding sneaky new ways to charge us. And in a moment, we'll talk about the biggest money traps seniors face in 2025, everything from liquid rules to shrinking carry-on sizes. But first, remember this. If your bag has a built-in battery or your power bank is oversized, you're setting yourself up for trouble. Keep it small, keep it simple, and keep it removable. That's the only way your bag makes it safely through security this year. Let's pause for another quick check-in. Type 1 in the comments if you've ever felt tricked by hidden airline fees, and type 0 if you think you've managed to avoid them. I'd bet most of us are typing 1 because airlines have gotten sneaky, and 2025 is proof of that. Now we've covered liquids and luggage, but here's where things get really surprising, because some of the everyday items being banned in carry-ons this year will leave you scratching your head. A few of them are funny, some are frustrating, and a few could ruin your trip entirely if you don't know the rules. And in just a moment, I'll share the ones that are most likely to catch seniors off guard. We've talked about batteries, bags, liquids, and hidden fees. But now, let's get into the part that almost nobody expects: the everyday items that can actually get you stopped at security in 2025. Some are obvious, like knives or fireworks. But others, they're so ordinary you'd never think twice about packing them, and yet they can land you in a stressful back and forth with airport staff. Seniors especially get caught here because many of these items are tied to health, comfort, or hobbies. Take thermometers. If you've got an old-fashioned mercury one at home and you slip it into your carry-on for peace of mind, don't. Mercury is highly hazardous. Even the tiniest leak can create a toxic situation, which is why mercury thermometers are completely banned in both carry-on and often checked luggage. The safe option is a digital or alcohol-based version. If you like to be prepared, double-check before you pack. Powders are another surprise. In the United States, anything over 12 ounces can trigger extra screening. That includes protein powder, baby powder, nutritional supplements, even baking mixes. Seniors who travel with powdered drinks or medical supplements often get pulled aside for extra checks. And while cremated remains are allowed, they also fall into this category, which can make an already emotional trip even more stressful. It's not that these items are forbidden, but you need to be ready for delays if you bring them. Even canes and walking sticks can raise eyebrows. Mobility aids are always allowed, but decorative canes, or those with hidden compartments, sometimes get flagged. I knew a man who traveled with a beautifully carved wooden cane. Security spent 10 minutes swabbing and testing it before finally letting him through, and he nearly missed his flight. If you rely on a cane, it's best to keep it plain and functional. Then there are the bans that almost seem silly. Tent poles and stakes? Not allowed in carry-ons. Baseball bats, golf clubs, hockey sticks? Also banned. Nobody is pitching a tent or swinging a bat in the middle of a flight, but rules are rules. And toy guns, even brightly colored plastic ones, are on the no-go list. To you it might look harmless, but to airport security, anything resembling a weapon is taken seriously. But for seniors, the most common issue is still medical liquids and creams. Technically, you're allowed to carry larger quantities if they're medically necessary, but that doesn't mean it will be easy. Security officers may still stop you, ask questions, or pull your bag aside. I've seen seniors forced to explain why they had extra eye drops, creams, or liquid medications while holding up the line behind them. The best way to handle it is to keep everything in original packaging, carry a doctor's note if possible, and declare it up front. It saves time and stress. Now, let's talk about the rule that's caused more headaches than any other: liquids. Since 2006, we've all been forced to squeeze toiletries into tiny bottles, shove them into plastic bags, and hope nothing gets tossed. For seniors, it's even more frustrating. Between medications, creams, and eye drops, that 100 milliliter limit often feels impossible to work with. And just when we thought relief was finally coming, airports pulled a switch. In 2024, the UK started relaxing the 311 rule at certain airports with new scanners that promised to detect liquids more accurately. For a brief moment, it felt like the end of those plastic bags. Seniors celebrated the idea of finally carrying a proper bottle of lotion or bringing medications without constant worry. But by mid-year, the celebration was over. Airports like London City and Newcastle quietly went back to the old rule after safety concerns. To make it worse, there wasn't much public notice. Imagine arriving at the airport with a full-size shampoo only to be told to toss it at security because the rules had changed back overnight. The European Union also promised to get rid of liquid restrictions by rolling out new scanners across the continent. But when they tested them, the machines didn't work as well as hoped. So here we are in 2025, and the 100 milliliter rule is still alive in every EU airport. The lesson? Don't get comfortable. Just because you flew into London or Paris last month with bigger bottles doesn't mean you'll be able to fly out with them today. The safest plan is to stick with the old rule, 100 milliliters per container, all in one resealable bag. It may feel outdated, but it's better than losing your expensive creams or prescription liquids at the gate. Now let's shift from liquids to something that hits even harder: money. Airlines are making billions by shrinking carry-on allowances and charging fees for bags that used to be free. Budget airlines in Europe, Ryanair, EasyJet, Wizz Air, are leading the charge. Over the past year, they've quietly reduced the size limits for free carry-ons. That means the small roller bag you used last summer may not qualify this year. If your bag doesn't fit their new measuring cages, you'll either check it or pay a steep fee at the gate. I met a couple in Barcelona recently who had used the same roller bags for years without issue. This time, Ryanair measured their bags, declared them too big, and charged them €100 right there at the gate. For seniors living on fixed incomes, surprises like that can ruin an otherwise affordable trip. The lesson is simple. Always check your airline's baggage policy before you fly, even if you've flown with them before. These rules change constantly, and they're not flexible. If your bag doesn't fit, you pay, no exceptions. And it's not just European airlines making life difficult. In North America, Air Canada introduced new rules in January 2025 that affect every basic economy passenger. Under the new policy, you're allowed one small personal item for free, something like a purse or a small backpack. But if you want to bring a standard carry-on suitcase, you'll now pay $35. Add another bag, and the fee jumps to $65. And there's more. As of January 21st, 2025, seat selection is no longer free. Instead, seats are assigned randomly at check-in unless you pay extra. That means if you want an aisle seat for mobility, or if you want to sit with your spouse, you'll have to pay. Otherwise, you risk being stuck in the middle row between strangers. I spoke with a grandmother who booked basic economy to visit her grandchildren. She assumed she'd get the same benefits she always had, but when she checked in, she was hit with fees for her carry-on and placed in the very back row. By the time she added everything up, her cheap ticket cost more than a regular economy seat would have. That's the reality of 2025. What looks like a deal up front often ends up costing more once you add in all the hidden charges. So here's the truth. Budget fares aren't really budget anymore. Whether you're flying Ryanair across Europe or Air Canada across North America, the cheapest ticket often comes with strings attached. For seniors who value predictability and comfort, it may be better to pay a little more up front to avoid the stress of being nickel and dimed later. Food can also catch you off guard. Solid snacks are fine, but spreads, sauces, and soft cheeses are treated like liquids. That jar of homemade jam you plan to bring for your grandchildren? Security may toss it. It feels unfair, but it happens every day. Stick to solid snacks if you don't want to risk it. Electronics bring their own challenges. Laptops, tablets, and CPAP machines all need to be screened separately. For seniors with sleep apnea, traveling with a CPAP is essential. The good news is it doesn't count as one of your carry-ons. The bad news is that you'll probably have to remove it from its case at security. If you pack it so it's easy to slide out quickly, you'll get through with less hassle, and the people in line behind you will thank you. So what's the big takeaway? Airline rules aren't always logical. Something as harmless as a powdered drink mix, a face cream, or a carved cane might look suspicious to security. Arguing won't get your item back. The only way to win is to know the rules before you fly. Let's pause for one last check-in. Type 1 in the comments if you've ever had to give up something at security that you really wanted to keep, and type 0 if you've been lucky enough to avoid it. I'll bet most of us have at least one story like that. I remember a senior traveler telling me she lost a brand new jar of face cream that cost more than her plane ticket. That one stung. Here's the truth. In 2025, the rules of carry-on travel are stricter than ever. Batteries, bags, liquids, powders, medical items. What's fine today could be banned tomorrow. Seniors are especially vulnerable because we're the ones traveling with medications, health aids, and comfort items that don't always fit neatly into plastic bags. But the good news is that knowledge is power. If you prepare your bag carefully, double-check the latest airline policies, and pack smart, you can breeze through security while others scramble. You'll avoid the fees, avoid the stress, and avoid becoming the next airport horror story. So here's your final reminder. Type 1 in the comments if you learned something new today, or 0 if you already knew most of it. And don't forget to subscribe to Travel Made Simple for seniors. Every week, I share practical tips to make flying simpler, safer, and smarter, because travel after 60 shouldn't be harder. It should be better. Safe travels, and I'll see you in the next video.